Today on Hampton Roads Business Weekly, we'll introduce you to the local woman behind Spirit Fingers.
Plus, see how local cab companies are cashing in on the ride-sharing craze.
And using Pinterest to promote your business. It's all next on Hampton Roads Business Weekly.
Hello, welcome to Hampton Roads Business Weekly. I'm Zach Miller.
And I'm Cheryl Tan. All this month, we're focusing on seasonal businesses, from how they manage cash flow to finding customers, even how they find staff.
I spoke with Dr. Joe Bucci, a professor at Regent University School of Business and Leadership, and he had some great tips on how seasonal businesses can find and keep good employees. So I have a business and I have got some employees, and that's already hard enough to figure that out. But now I own a seasonal business and I'm trying to get seasonal employees and keep them happy and to get them going throughout time. How do I manage that?
Staffing for any business is very challenging, especially a small business. The error some people make is wanting to have that key person, and if you read books like Gerber's book, Michael Gerber, The E-Myth Revisited, Gerber will say, you want to make it so that it can be run by, automatically. So it's really developing the model and the system. But most entrepreneurs, I would say, are going to have some key people. And a small seasonal business, you're going to want to have some key people, right? So finding those people, and I don't think it's, to me, you're always looking for good employees. I don't think you ever stop looking for good employees because the pools, depending on the business, are narrow. They're difficult to find good people. So you're always looking. So in any business, you should always be looking for talent. Talent is hard to find, tough to cultivate, tough to keep.
So you talked about automation or maybe the scaling of a business. What could be some ways to create a playbook, if you will, for having someone who is a seasonal employee go through a similar training every year? Should they maybe create the first summer or the first winter a video series and say this is how you train that person? Because we're in a market here where we have a lot of tourism, whether it's Busch Gardens,
Sure.
whether it's the ocean front or a plethora of different things. But a lot of those are seasonal. So what can they do instead of having to train that person over and over, or a different person over and over again? What could a company do to kind of scale or automate that process so they can not worry about that and focus on something else?
Really, training is like a completely different animal, right? Because there are a lot of different ways to do that. When I was doing training, corporate training, we'd buy the coastal videos and here's confined space and things like that. So you could show somebody a video. It depends on what you're trying to reproduce. If you're trying to reproduce culture, then that's not necessarily going to come through video. You're going to have mentors, you're going to have coaches, people who are like those culture models. So there's a lot of different ways to train. And again, if you know that you're going to be ramping up for a season, then you're going to need to have some training. You can put people here, sit here, let's watch this, we'll do some feedback with it, the coach or whoever it is. You're going to need to have some of that stuff that's kind of laid out, some of those jobs that are typed out, that are, kind of the classic, we need these kind of people. But I think if you're trying to reproduce culture, and if you're looking for talent, then you're going to have ways that as you're bringing those people through, that you have means to measure, hey, this person might be someone that we want to invest in the long term. And I think if you're not recruiting with that idea, that we're going to pull out of this pool, not just people who are going to keep us afloat and not hurt anybody during the season, but somebody we can really build on, you should be looking at that and thinking, how am I going to be able to keep this person beyond just the season?
How early does someone start recruiting for something that might be months away? What's if Christmas is coming up, do I start recruiting in October? Should I start in the summer? What have you seen as kind of a best practice as to when to do it?
Well, again, a seasonal business, I'm sure that they are pretty familiar with saying, we've got some people coming in for Christmas. You're seeing stores, large, small businesses ramping up for seasonal employees. But I think, again, recruiting talent, I think you're always looking for talent. You're always saying, if I found a person that I thought I could build on, at what stage would I bring them in at? I think not only, again, recruiting for talent all the time, but then thinking staging talent. So, entry level, how much training do they need? What do they need to be able to do a comprehensive, a good job, they don't hurt anybody. Next level, what am I doing to, if I do meet somebody, what is my process to get them to that supervisory level, and next and next. So if you have those kind of a 2x2 approach where you're looking at bringing in talent, exposing yourself to talent, and then thinking about at what place would I see them in my organization, then that's going to challenge you to always look at developing people, but then saying, well, how am I going to be able to keep these people long term? And that's going to be the biggest challenge. I want people who can help me grow my business.
Welcome back to Hampton Roads Business Weekly. With the popularity of ride sharing on the rise, Hampton Roads taxi companies have joined together to create their own app, Appicab. Take a look. Judy, you have a company that helps move people from place A to B when they need to, and it's called what?
Appicab.
And how did you come up with the idea of Appicab?
We were watching technology changes through the industry, and when we decided to upgrade our software, we said we want to have our own app. So we went out and found a company and started our own app called Appicab.
And you've been in the industry, the taxi industry, for a really, really, really long time. So you know that your customers were looking for a different piece of technology to help them get through those pieces. How did you communicate with those customers throughout time?
We took a long time in order to get it took a long time to get the word out, but basically through our drivers, through advertising on our own cabs. I don't know if you've even seen in the back of some of the vans, they have Appicab, and we had Chipotle, come to Chipotle, and we filmed everyone and put that on the back of the cars, and that helped to actually get the word out the most.
So some interesting marketing. So when people are behind you, you can see kind of the brand recognition there. You guys have had some big challenges over the last few years. What were they, and how did you get through them?
Well, the technology itself is ever changing, and so when we did change the technology over to be able to do the Appicab, we had to train 450 drivers, we had to train 35 people in the call center, we had to install the equipment, change everything over in 30 days while running a dual system. So that was very challenging.
Sure, so let's dig into that. So the old technology was someone finds you in a phone book, finds you online,
Right.
physically calls and
Right.
says, I need to get a taxi to take me here.
Right.
New technology is I'm going on an app, I'm pressing it, and I'm saying, I need you to come here now,
Right.
then talk to all those pieces there.
Right.
So a lot of moving parts.
Right, a lot of moving parts. The other thing that was challenging that came up after we got our Appicab going on was great that we already had our Appicab out there, but TNC started to come in, and they've been here for about a year now, a little over a year, and we're just thrilled that last month in July, we dispatched more jobs last month than we did the July before. So we are weathering that storm, and so we're really happy about that.
So how do you grow when competitors are coming into your market when you've been there forever?
You do look for opportunities through your networking. So we do a lot of networking through going to hospitality associations, as well as we're tuned into Fest events, we're tuned into Retail Alliance, the Chamber, Virginia Maritime Association. So we look
Sure.
at a lot of different opportunities to see where the transportation needs are, and then we go in and try to see if we can't help fill those.
If someone was watching this and you could give them one tip on owning a business, growing a business, starting a business, maybe thinking about doing something in the entrepreneurial space, what would it be?
The one tip that I would give somebody that was starting a business, getting into business, is stay true to yourself and stay true to your product, and always try to enhance it, and always look for ways that you can fill a need in the community. Because if you're not filling somebody's need, then there's no reason to really be in business. So that's what I would say to them. Look for those places where you can benefit the people that are going to be using your product.
And how could someone find a way to fill that need? What does that process look like?
Well, for instance, how could someone fill...
So how would someone know that there's a pain point in one market?
Oh, that again goes to being out in the community. Because if you're not out in the community networking, seeing what is needed, then you are not going to be able to fill a need. So when we're out there and we're talking to people and we're seeing people, Like for instance, one need we're now filling is, quite frankly, debutante parties. Some man wanted us to do his debutante daughter's party, so now we're out there and they're able to app a cab and get home. And
But you don't know those things happen if you're not out there
that's correct.
hustling and networking.
That's correct.
Great. Thank you so much, Judy.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
We're back with our Entrepreneur of the Week. I sat down with Brian Holland of Atlantic Bay Mortgage. Find out how a job at Red Lobster, of all places, led him into the world of business. Brian, you are our Entrepreneur of the Week. Congratulations and thanks for sharing your story with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I really do love your startup story. You ever wonder what would have happened had you not worked at that Red Lobster?
Yes, actually I do a lot. I just had the conversation. It's funny. I've been playing golf since I was 7, and I tried out for the Old Dominion golf team, and I just was the last one cut. So if I'd have made the team, I wouldn't have worked at Red Lobster, wouldn't have gotten the mortgage business, I wouldn't have met my lovely bride. So it would have changed my life quite a bit. So
Definitely. Yeah. And let's talk about how that Red Lobster plays a role. It's somebody you met there that really led you into the mortgage business.
Yeah, it was. So I grew up in Suffolk, was waiting tables at, excuse me, out in Chesapeake at the Red Lobster, and just one day, one of the managers called and said, "Hey, Brian, I think you'd be great in the mortgage business. I'm trying to get out of the restaurant business and get in the mortgage business." And I said, "I really don't know anything about the mortgage business." And he's like, "Oh, you can do it." So I went in, and basically I was a glorified caller, and just went through the little blue cross-reference directories and called people. It was 1993, and said, "Hey, would you like to refinance your mortgage?" And that was kind of my training class. So it was an interesting beginning.
Incredible. Over the last 2 decades, Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group has grown tremendously. I'm looking at my notes right here. $1.5 billion in volume, and that's only in 2015. 7 states you have offices in, dozens of offices in those 7 states, and 560 employees. What do you attribute your success to?
Our people. We've really been fortunate to get great people and have the right mission and goals in mind. My job is really to serve our team, our employees, and keep them happy. And that's my number one job. And because if they're happy and they're productive and they've got a good balance, a good work-life balance, they're going to do a great job with our clients. So that's really just helped us maintain and continue to grow and be involved in the community, which they are as well, which is really important to us.
It's been a challenging time over the last few years, and now it looks like things are turning around a bit. But how did you manage the challenges of the downturn in a time when a lot of real estate companies, a lot of mortgage companies just didn't make it? What kinds of things did you do to succeed and to get through that really tough time?
Well, fortunately, we always stuck to kind of the vanilla type mortgages. We did government loans, VA, FHA, conventional. Obviously, we're in a huge VA market, and we really focused on that versus a lot of the subprime. So it was very tempting to get involved in the different types of mortgages, but we kind of maintained our focus, kept our core group of people, and we just plowed ahead during those times, and it's really helped us continue to increase market share over the last few years, and we've seen a ton of growth in the last 18 to 24 months.
I know that philanthropy is incredibly important to you and your family, and that so many of your employees take part in events around town and building up Hampton roads. Talk a little bit about that effort and why you do it.
Well, one of the things that we recently changed in the last 2 years is we kind of had corporate sponsored events, and we would do we'd sponsor all the MS walks across the state, and we changed it up a little bit. We came with our Atlantic Bay Cares, program, and basically what happens is our employees get to vote on who they want us to give money to. So they nominate people. We pick 5 every month, and then our employees and our clients all vote on Facebook on who wins. It's gotten our team more involved, our employees more involved, and that's kind of key. We give them time off during the year to go work for their favorite charity, so they get paid time off to do that. So we really want them to interact in the community. I mean, the community, without the community, we wouldn't be where we are. And so we really try and give back and focus on that, and really, we just want to do whatever we can to help people in the different markets.
Brian, the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Don't be afraid. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and don't be afraid to hire people who are strong where you're weak.
Great. Some wonderful lessons that you shared with us. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the one thing entrepreneurs do that lead to their success. I am thrilled to introduce you to Teresa Denham, the founder and CEO of Spirit Fingers. Thanks for inviting us into your office today.
Thanks for coming.
10 years ago, you were a government employee, and you've told me before that you thought you'd retire there until you came up with this idea. So talk to us about that.
So, in an effort to save money for a college football game, I went and got some yarn and some gloves and made this exact pair right here.
And it's spirit wear, so it was so you could support your team and kind of be visible to the fans around you.
Right. It was November, so it was a little chilly in Blacksburg, Virginia, so it was a little practical too.
We're focusing our show today on seasonal companies and some of the challenges that these seasonal companies face. You have mentioned that the bulk of your income comes at a certain time of the year. So how do you handle that?
So traditionally speaking, we run our books on a calendar year, January through December, but we run our sales cycle on a kind of like a school year from September to May, or September to August. We kind of gear up, we're ready to roll by the beginning of August. We have all of our product in for the year. That gets us through high school football, NCAA football, NFL, all the way through Christmas, like through December.
You've mentioned other challenges too, about having storage specifically, having, especially since you have a business where much of your inventory is sold at the end of the year. For the beginning of the year, you have inventory and you've got to keep it somewhere.
Yeah. So we have a warehouse that we keep fully stocked 12 months a year. Sometimes we do, believe it or not, $30,000 in a very short period of time, which if you divide that by $20, it's a lot of Spirit Fingers that you're trying to pick, pack, and ship out the door.
But then in the summertime, you're kind of holding on to the inventory.
We are.
You are actually probably making more so you can fill the shelves.
Yes. So we place our order in January, and we have to pay for it in January. And so it comes over, by cargo ship. And so there's about 6 months that we're not making any money on that product. We're just storing it and getting ready for the season. But I will say that is the part of the year that we grow the most, because during our season we were so busy and inundated with calls and pick, pack, and shipping that we really can't do anything else. So once February, March, April, May get here, we're really excited to say, okay, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? Where do we need to focus our efforts for next season? So I'm actually really glad that we have that downtime. I can't imagine being like a Chick-fil-A that's like 24 hours, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, minus Sundays.
Right.
But yeah.
The name of the segment is The One Thing. So I want to ask you, what is the one thing that you believe has led to your success and the success of your company?
Well, you know this, but I have always surrounded myself with smarter people. Not that I'm not smart, but I know that I'm really good at certain things, and that's branding and selling Spirit Fingers, being the face of Spirit Fingers, talking about how to run a business. But the day-to-day operations just are something I'm not interested in. And so by surrounding myself with people who are interested in that, it's made the company more successful. I am certainly not responsible for the success of the company. It is every single person and part involved in this business that makes it successful.
Well, good luck and congratulations.
Thank
Teresa
you.
Denham, thanks so much for sharing such great advice with us.
Thank you.
Okay.
This is Naoma Jorguzzi from AskNaoma.com, and today I want to share with you some tips on using Pinterest for your business. You have Facebook and Twitter, but Pinterest is more like a visual bookmarking where you create pins and put them onto boards of things that you find interesting. This will be good for businesses to maybe start thinking about being on Pinterest, because there are different kinds of pins. They're called rich pins. There's 5 different kinds. First, there's the place pin, where you can address a telephone number. So if you're looking for maybe to do a travel guide, things to do in the area, this is a great idea. Also, there are product pins. So if you have a product to sell, you can add your link, even the price, where to get it directly. And the good thing is, if the price changes, the price automatically updates as well onto the Pinterest board. There are also recipe pins, which is my personal favorite, where you see lots of foods. It'll give the ingredients, the time baked, how long it takes to prepare, but then there's a direct link to that website as well. There are also movie pins, and if you're creating apps, you can also pin those apps to Pinterest board, and people can download them directly from Pinterest without actually having to leave that page. So Pinterest is available on your mobile. It's also available on your desktop. You have to apply for the Pinterest rich pin. So you just go to the Pinterest developers page. There's 4 easy steps to do. You have to add the meta tags to your website once you decide what kind of rich pins you want to do. But it's very easy to do, and it'll also be more engaging on Pinterest for your viewers and for your customers. So if you have any questions, go to AskNaoma.com.
That's all for this week's Hampton Roads Business Weekly. You can find the show on Facebook and Twitter at HR Business Weekly or at hrbusinessweekly.com.
For Hampton Roads Business Weekly, I'm Zach Miller.
And I'm Cheryl Tan. We'll see you next week.
Hampton Roads Business Weekly, sponsored by Regent University and produced by ABC 13.